Alright everybody, welcome back to the news desk here on iNeedComics.com, part of the Pop Culture Network. As always, I'm your host, Dirt, and we're going to take a look at some of the big comic book news stories hitting the scene before we get into this week's new releases. Now, first up, the big story, of course, has been before Watchmen. Alan Moore has said that no one should touch the Watchmen characters because they are so near and dear to him and they were his creation. Of course, they were really the Charlton characters, just kind of reimagined a little bit for this universe, but hey, whatever. Besides that, Alan Moore has no problem taking other people's characters and putting them into books where they have sex with donkeys. But outside of that, Dave Gibbons, the other co-creator of The Watchmen, has said, yeah, whatever, go ahead. I like money. And so on that rationale, DC has announced 7 new Watchmen prequel series, and these are being worked on by some of the top names in the industry. Guys like Brian Azzarello, I guess that's how you pronounce that, Lee Bermeo, you may remember them from doing the Joker hardcover a couple years ago. J.G. Jones, Darwin Cook, Amanda Connor, J. Michael Straczynski, Adam Hughes, Andy and Joe Kubert, Jay Lee. These are some of the top names in comics, in all of comic history, really, and they're going to be working on those books. Now, 7 different books. They will be coming out every week, and DC has said it's going to be set up kind of like the 7 Soldiers of Victory, the way Grant Morrison did that. There's a new book every week, kind of flipping between the different characters, and there'll be one ongoing backup story that'll be in all of the books. So, anyone looking forward to that? I know I am, and I know a lot of people have said they don't necessarily think that it's right that DC's doing that, but again, Alan Moore has no problem mucking around with other people's characters, so I think it's all in good fun. Next up, Diamond Comics has announced the Diamond Awards that will be going to select retailers at the Retailer Summit before C2E2. Some of the categories include Best Window Display, Best New Comics Section, Best Toy Section, Best T-Shirt Display, things like that. Most Improved Retail Display. So if you've got a comic book retailer that you think deserves some attention, make sure you let the guys at Diamond Comics Distributors know all about it. Sales estimates for January 2012, again, put DC Comics at the top of the units sold pile, but Marvel at the top of the dollar share. Now, Marvel gets more dollar share because their books sell at $3.99 versus DC's at $2.99. But for DC, the plan seems to be working on getting their books out there in front of people. As far as the top books go, the top 10 comics are all DC Comics. Justice League, Batman, Action, Detective, Green Lantern, Batman the Dark Knight, Superman, Flash, Batman and Robin, and Aquaman. Those are the top 10 books, all from DC. So good for them. The initiative at least seems to be working for getting the titles out there and getting people interested. We'll see, though, whether or not they can turn that into money down the line. Also, comic book creators are asking people to boycott the Avengers movie. You might say, well, that seems kind of odd. Why would we? After all, the Avengers movie is the big comic book movie of the year. But they are pointing to a key decision been made where Marvel has tried to get out of paying any money to the family of Jack Kirby for all the work he did for them. All of the characters that he created, all of the work being reprinted, none of that money is going to the family of Jack Kirby. It was all done as work for hire. In those days, they didn't think it'd be worth anything in 5 or 10 years. And now that Marvel has turned it into this multi-billion-dollar machine, a lot of comic creators think that it's only fair that the family of Jack Kirby be able to share in that. So they're asking people not to go see the Avengers movie. I don't know how successful that plan is going to be, but it is definitely a good cause, and it's something that maybe you should at least think about a little bit before dismissing it outright for being absolutely crazy. Alright guys, that's going to do it for all the important news stories of this week. Now let's take a quick look at some of the books that will be hitting the shelves today. Supergirl appears in Superboy this week, and Batman appears in Batgirl. But that's not all the Bat family has to offer. We've got Batman, Brave and the Bold, Penguin, Batman and Robin, Huntress, and Batwoman for all the Bat files. Also Batman related, we got Harley Quinn and Suicide Squad, as well as Frankenstein Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Deathstroke, and Green Lantern, all coming out from DC this week. Over on the Marvel side, we finally find out who the father is in Battle Scars, as well as Deadpool dies in Deadpool 50, Punisher dies in Punisher Max, and Daken tries to kill Wolverine in the almost final issue of Daken. Plenty of X-Men books for the X-Men fans, New Mutants, X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men, and the Wolverine and the X-Men Alpha and Omega Mini. Also, the final issue of Black Panther, the second issue of Scarlet Spider, and Carnage USA just keeps on rolling with these fantastic covers. This time, George Washington. Adventure Time hits Boom with a bunch of covers, as well as the continuation of Charles Schultz's Peanuts and the Kaboom imprint from Boom Studios. Dark Horse this week features one of the most controversial issues of Buffy of all time. We've got 3 Star Wars books and the new Conan series from Brian Wood and Becky Cloonan. Over at IDW, we've got the new G.I. Joe Snake Eyes, Memorial, and the new issue of Next Men, which features the aftermath of the Next Men. Over at Image, Todd McFarlane's crew is bringing out new issues of Haunt and Spawn. We get a new issue of Severed, Last of the Greats, and the new series Thief of Thieves. There are plenty more books coming out this week. Make sure you check shoppcn.com to order your favorites.